sermon is This is not the end. This is not the end. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verses 7 to 8 says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, with which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day. Not to me only, but to all who have loved his appearing. 6 years ago, we got a letter from the conference indicating that we were going to move to district to Nevis. We packed all of our things in our car and we boarded the sea bridge and we came over to Nevis on the 5th of July to begin our ministry here. The following day on the 6th, we were installed at Beulah. And over the years, as I reflect, I can say that we've had many wonderful experiences living in Nevis. Now, one experience that I remember is during the COVID pandemic, when we decided that the lockdown was a little bit too much for us, and Zena was stressing us out inside of the house. So during full lockdown, we decided that we are going to be a little bit defiant, and we went outside to take a walk. It was a good and pleasant walk until we heard a sound of a vehicle coming in our direction. And we automatically said to ourselves that this is the police. But even before I could gather myself and figure out what to do, I turned back and I realized that Kerida had already run away, leaving myself and Zena behind. We've had many wonderful experiences. We've also had wonderful experiences right here in the church. We've had baptisms, socials, some of the best socials, and barbecues, barbecued tofu, and we've had crusades and revivals. We've had camps and baby dedication. But I must say, the one thing that we did not have enough of were weddings. We need to have some more weddings. And it's not too late because I'm here until the 13th. But now, it is our time to leave the district and move on to the Emerald Isles, Montserrat. But although this is our final Sabbath with you in our capacity as the pastoral family, I want to let you know that this is not the end. In our passage, the veteran apostle Paul is addressing young Timothy, seeking to encourage him as he continues to minister to God's people. In the passage, it is clear that Paul understands that his time on earth is coming to an end. And so the aged apostle, the words of the aged apostle at this point are particularly important. And he says to Timothy, Timothy, I have fought the good fight. I have fought the good fight. When we study this passage closely, we find that Paul is not speaking of an actual fight. He instead is using language of an athletic competition to illustrate to Timothy that the life he has lived and to illustrate to Timothy of the life he lived. And in so doing, to inspire him to follow in the same path. So Timothy, Paul is essentially saying to young Timothy that despite all the challenges that he faced in his ministry, that he persevered through it all. He did not quit. He did not give up. He pressed on until the very end. And at this point in his life, he is now looking back at all his experiences and he is saying, I have fought the good fight. Despite the slander of the people who spoke ill of him and sought to discredit him, he pressed on. Despite being persecuted and shipwrecked, he pressed on. Despite all the challenges he faced in his ministry, Paul says, I fought the good fight. Paul is essentially saying to young Timothy that I've had a good run. I gave it my all. I did my best. I have finished the race. I'm now coming to the end of not only my ministry, but my time on earth. But as I reflect on my life and all my experiences, I can confidently say that I did my part. And I did it well. And now I am at the end. But even as we reflect on Paul's life and his ministry, his powerful words to young Timothy, the truth is that I cannot express the same sentiments to you because this is not the end. I cannot say like Paul that I have finished my course because this is not the end. My journey in ministry continues in another part of the vineyard. And as God continues to give me life, it is my hope to serve in this ministry for a very long time. So this is not the end. The work continues. The mission is still to preach the everlasting gospel to everyone on this island. And this mission is not changed because Pastor Browne is leaving. In fact, let me tell you, this mission is far bigger than Pastor Browne. The mission of the church continues without me. In fact, let me tell you this. I have enough self-awareness to know that I'm not special. I have enough self-awareness to know that I'm not all that. I am not worthy of even being in ministry. I am not worthy of being called a pastor. I am not irreplaceable. Far from. Some years ago, before ministry, somebody was speaking about me. And they said to someone else, see that boy there? He does not have the pedigree for pastoral ministry. The truth is that I felt bad for a time. But I have enough self-awareness even back then to know that they were right. You know, when you are self-aware and when you're honest with yourselves, you do not have to wait for someone to read your Psalms because I can read it myself. I remember some time ago, I'm leaving, I can say this, in the election season in St. Kitts, of course, a politician went on a platform and he was speaking of a certain person in the community. And he said all kind of things about him. And then on Facebook, I saw the post. Person said, have you heard what this person said? Person said, yes, I've heard. And all that he said is correct. Every single thing. So I'm saying to you that I know I do not have the pedigree. While others can boast of their strong Adventist heritage and about the fact that they came from good stock, my claim to fame is that I am nothing, and I know it. But for some reason, God placed his hands on me. For some reason, God placed his hands upon me. And he called my undeserving, unpedigreed, unqualified, unprepared self to ministry. And he has been with me thus far. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that without me, ministry in the district must continue. But not only continue, it must expand and it must improve. Are we together, church? So the district is not at a standstill because Pastor Browne is leaving. The work must go on because this is not the end. This is not the end. It is a start of a new period, a start of new leadership, a start of new approaches and new ideas and new opportunities. This is not the end. It is simply a start of a new era in the church of God here in this district. After Paul made it clear that he fought a good fight and finished the course and he kept the faith, he then points us to the real end. He says, finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day. And not only me, but all who love his appearing. Paul here is saying that he has the absolute confidence that when the end comes, he will for sure, without a doubt, receive a crown of righteousness. Now, there are at least two types of crowns in the Bible. Are we together, church? The first crown is the Greek word diadema. Diadema. You learned something in church today. This is the royal crown. It signifies royalty. But when we get to heaven, it is not this crown that we will be receiving. This is not the crown that Paul is speaking about. The other crown comes from the Greek word Stephanos. This is not the royal crown. Remember, when Paul is speaking in the text, he is speaking in the context of an athletic competition. So when he says there is a crown waiting for him, he is not speaking of a royal crown. He is speaking of a garland or a flower wreath which were placed on the heads of athletes during those times. This was the crown, is the crown of victory. It is similar to giving an athlete a gold medal at the end of the race. This is what Paul is speaking about. He is saying that at the end of his course, at the end of all the difficulty and challenge and trials and obstacles, at the end of all the disappointments and tribulations, Paul says there is a crown of victory, a Stephanos that is waiting for him. But this is not my favorite part of the text. It is good to know that Paul will be receiving his crown. But what about me? What about you? What about us? So here is my favorite part of the text. And not to me only. Are we together, church? And not to me only, but also to all who have loved his appearing. Paul here is pointing to the real end. Remember, this is not the end. This is not the end. But the end will come. And the crown of victory is not only available to the apostles, but he makes it absolutely clear that the crown is for all who loves and longs for his appearing. Oh, this means that there's a crown waiting for me too. And there's a crown waiting for you. This is not the end, but one day the end will come. And if we are faithful, there is a crown that is waiting for us. So as I prepare to leave, I want to say to you, don't be distracted. Don't despair. Don't lose hope. Remain faithful to God and his church and his mission. Continue to serve faithfully. Don't hinge your church involvement or lack thereof on Pastor Browne or any other pastor. Fight the good fight. Finish the course. Keep the faith. And know for certain that there is a crown, a Stephanos, waiting for you. So I say to you, this is not the end. This is not the end, but the end is near. I believe with all my heart that one day Christ shall return to this earth to take all his faithful children home. This is not the end. There's much more in store. The work of ministry must continue. You must continue to commit to the cause of God. And for those who may not have been committed for the last 4 years or 6 years or however so long, you must come on board now. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. But one day, our Lord and Savior will come to usher all his faithful children home. So my encouragement to you as I take my seat, or as I prepare to take my seat, and let me take my time as I take my seat, because it will be the last time in this capacity taking my seat. But I want to say to you, be hopeful, be prayerful, be watchful until then, because this certainly is not the end.